What's the easiest way to earn 20K? And what's the story behind the volunteer randomizer? Well, these questions and more will be addressed on this episode of Reality Redux with Angie and friends. This week's fourth episode of The Floor sent 8 contestants home and saw the vilification of one of the most maligned contestants in The Floor history. I'm talking to you, Brian. I am joined by Hopecast's Brad Lowe, no relation to the floor host, and season 3 contestants Eric. Welcome back, Eric, Clint, and Magic. Welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Indy, who's the villain? Who was you talking about? I'm confused.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's Benedetta. Yeah, that was her. Yeah.
She's not a villain.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
She was just the scariest. No, it's not Benedetta. It's Alex. His namaste was clearly a front for
Oh my gosh.
an evil plan. No, I mean, who's the villain, folks? I mean, Rob Lowe basically called him out. That would be, I'm not supposed to be here today, Mr. Dante, aka Brian, right? I thought that was pretty harsh to call the guy a villain. I mean, he can't help the fact that nobody attacked him and he just sat there and fell asleep and won 20K.
Wait, they're vilifying Brian from Clerks? Am I hearing this? No. Come on, he's one of my favorite ones that's played on this show. And he's pretty cool. But I want to say something. I want to just lay it out there because I want to drop this gauntlet on Magic, Clint, and Eric knows I'm going to speak my mind. The new twist was stupid as all get out. I did not like this twist. I thought it was so dumb. I'm like, this is. Oh my gosh, I didn't like it.
Okay. So let me give you the tea on the twist. You want the tea on the twist?
Spill the tea, babe.
I know this too.
So what you guys did get to see was a little bit of Rob saying the very first person when people raised their hand, he called out Shane. He's like, Shane, want to get in the game? Shane's like, yeah, I want to get in the game. I want to play.
Like, yeah,
and then Rob said, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually have a volunteer randomizer and keep your hand up if you want to play. You know what Shane did? Hand down. Like immediately. And so what they didn't show is everybody razzing Shane so bad about, oh, where's the big talk now? So dude ends up not raising his hand, obviously doesn't get randomized. I feel like I'm responsible, Brad, for you not liking the volunteer randomizer.
Why? Why are you responsible?
I'm responsible because the reason the volunteer randomizer happened was because everybody in episode 3 pretty much went back to the floor except for one person, Mark with a C, who didn't go back to the floor.
Yes,
I'm the only person that had the opportunity to take advantage of the volunteer randomizer. So the guy in front of me, Matthew, he gets volunteered, he volunteers, he gets randomized, he challenges me. I inherit his category, and what I do, right back to the freaking floor.
Right back to the
and I think that kind of just screwed the whole thing up because the idea was let's volunteer somebody that's gonna just go crazy. They're gonna win. They're gonna go on a crazy run, never been done before, 8 duels in a row type deal. And I'm like, nope, classic cars. Thank you very much. See you guys in the finale.
But okay, Clint, I will say this episode was better than last week's episode.
Yes.
Because I told Eric last week's episode ranked right above the first one as far as my least favorites. So this one was good. I'll give it. Angie, I thought it was a good episode.
I like having, first of all, I have to say, I love having Brad do this with us because he is very much a neutral, no filter party. He has no allegiance to Floor family. He is, if anything, he's the redheaded stepbrother of the Floor family, invited to the family picnics, but he can say what he wants to say. I have to skate a line because at the end of the day, I'm faithful and allegiant to my Floor people. I would say that yes, better than previous episodes. Still, some of those duels, and I think we'll get to them maybe a little bit by bit, but they were snooze fests.
Oh my gosh, the yoga one? I didn't even watch that one because I know nothing about yoga. So I tuned out. I was like talking to my son.
I think that
It was so close.
Nice.
So good.
Yeah,
It was a really good duel.
for me.
And you could
Yes.
hear the audience reaction to Benedetta like guessing but getting it right. Like it was so great, and to
It was
see it live and
surprising.
happen in real time
I
was
wrote
amazing.
notes and I said, this is the happiest, most loving, lighthearted duel. Every time, like when she'd be excited she got one, Alex would be like, oh, good job. And like they would go, I was just like, I feel like I was gonna start crying because it was just so sweet. I loved it.
Now I do like Benedetta. She's a friend of the show, so I do like Benedetta. But I'm just not I don't know anything about yoga. I knew Downward Dog, and then after that, I'm like, I'm good. I don't know anything else. I don't know that.
Well, I think
I
that's
don't either.
what made it compelling to watch for some people is that you have a category that by definition is really about Zen and relaxation, and yet it was the closest duel of the night, and it was the one with the most. Oh my God, she got that. Alex the Guru might lose. No, Benedetta missed that. Alex might, and that I think is what keeps the game interesting. And then you get other ones where, and this is where I'm going to have to push Clint just a bit, a lot of passing, and so much so that poor Rob, made a joke as he does about you being a worship pastor and a would you say you were a chaplain for the NFL? He said, yeah, that makes sense. There was so much passing in this.
He said, I think
duel, and I felt bad because
That was funny
to have Rob make a joke. But there was a lot of passing in sports movies, and I want to start there because sports films was the first duel of the night. And you're right, Matthew picked you. You went up there. You were ready. You were poised. I was ready too because I am a sports film fanatic, and I couldn't wait to see some of the classics. And there was a lot of passing. Was it nerves? Was it lack of knowledge? You were expecting films you didn't see. Can you talk us through a little bit of what might have happened?
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't get to see what obviously, I mean, we don't get to see what the other contestants are. For the most part, I was super chill. Like, I don't get nervous on stage. It doesn't bug me a bit. The ones that I passed, for the most part, I probably would have passed anyway. I just didn't know those movies. And so I passed on 4. One of them was Challengers. No idea what that movie was. No idea.
Agreed.
One of them was I, Tonya. I knew it was Tonya Harding.
I did that too.
So for me, my strategy is I'm not going to sit there and go, oh gosh, Tonya Harding. I just I don't actually know the name of the film. I know who it is, but if I don't know the name of the film, pass.
Funny enough, you could have gone Tonya, and they probably would have given it to you.
Oh, they would have gave it to you. Probably.
Maybe so.
Just saying.
Let's see. One of them was Seabiscuit, which I got a text from my best friend, my childhood best friend, who was like, dude, we watched that movie together. What the heck? And my response to him was, I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm going, Tobey Maguire. What sports movie is Tobey Maguire in? Tobey Maguire. And I forgot to look at the horse that he's sitting on. That part escaped me. So I literally said, pass. Oh, Seabiscuit.
Yeah, I heard you say it. Yeah.
And then the unforgivable one for me was Blades of Glory. I should have never passed. So that one was one of those like, oh crap, I can't believe I passed on that one.
Did you get above the rim? Did you get above the rim?
No, that was one of his.
I didn't get that one. I was like, I don't know that movie.
I got every single one of Matthews. I got every single one of Matthews except for one when I was watching back.
Yeah.
And there was one. It was a swimming movie. Not sure what it was, but
Naiad.
the rest of them, I feel like some of those were pretty easy.
Oh, I didn't know Naiad. They should have shown like the Hilary Swank Karate Kid, the next Karate Kid, because that would have been
$1 million baby.
$4 million baby. That's what I was thinking.
Or baby. I figured they show Rocky. I was like, because everyone listens knows I try to guess what they're gonna. Because the movies are. If Heidi was on, she'd be like, Brad, that's gonna be your category. But the movies are my category. But you did good on it, Clint.
Can I tell you? Let me tell you guys something that you're only going to hear here. Okay, so it showed me right before the duel with the 3, 2, 1 when everybody's being really quiet and everybody's doing their yapping. So it shows me closing my eyes and I'm going through movies in my mind and I'm saying them out loud to myself. One of the movies that I was trying to remember was a movie with Christian Bale. And it's a fighting movie called The Fighter.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember that one in my head. And instead, I say out loud, The Wrestler. No, The Fighter. And I didn't even know The Wrestler was a movie.
You
Had
didn't
no
know
idea.
that with Mickey Rourke? You didn't know
I
that
did
movie?
not know.
I
did not know that movie existed. But I heard myself say it out loud 45 seconds before that movie flashed on the screen. And it flashed on the screen, and I'm like, "Oh, The Wrestler," and I just guessed, and it was like, "Ding!" And I was like, "Holy crap! I didn't even know that was a movie." But I said it to myself right before. It's the craziest thing ever.
Clint, let me ask you: would you have gone on the floor and would you have gone up and challenged somebody whose category was worship songs? I say that because I've talked to my boss, my friend Matt, who's a pastor. I'm like, I would not want to go on there and lose in a category, because then I have to come back and they're like, oh, Brad didn't know Old Testament history very well. He lost. Like, you're putting a lot on. It's the beans thing. Remember, Angie?
Yeah.
Jennifer did not want to challenge the history guy because she would have to go back to school if she didn't, and they would laugh at her. Would you have been 100% confident you could have nailed the worship category?
Yeah, 100%, man. There's like no chance. I would have gotten every one of those. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years. There's no chance I would miss one.
I think it's an interesting question because Eric got EW, you called him. Can I call you EW? Have I earned the right?
Absolutely,
I don't know. I'm
absolutely.
going to
Oh, my
take it. So EW had rap and hip hop, which is clearly his jam. We talked to him last week. He talked about his passion for it. He's listening to it all his life. He loves it, knows it inside and out. And he got that category. Did you pitch contemporary Christian music or worship songs in your audition process? And was it just passed over? Because I'm telling you, I would think that by the time they're getting to seasons 4 and 5, they're going to be digging for more categories. I'm wondering if we're going to see that come up.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I didn't think they were going to do anything in like religious tangent whatsoever. So I didn't even pitch it. My couple pitches were, I don't think I got any of the pitches anywhere close. So mine were, again, this was before season 2 had filmed. So Disney characters, I literally used to live at Walt Disney World. Like, we lived right behind Magic Kingdom, and my kids knew it was time to go to bed because the fireworks went off at 9:10 every night. So like anything Disney, I would have crushed. Anything Simpsons, I would have crushed. But both of those had already been previous categories.
Right.
And so sports films wasn't even on my radar at all. And
But
so
you were a chaplain in NFL. Do you think that's why you were given it? They picked up on
yeah,
that
and
thread?
I mean, I'm a chaplain currently. Still, I do a lot of mentorship and character development with professional athletes. Like, that's my people. That's who I hang out with. Granted, they're not in movies, and they probably don't even know any of these movies. But I didn't get any flack for any of them because I think they probably would have passed on a lot of those too. But I think it's I don't think if I would have pitched that. You're right, though. It is. I was thinking about it the other day because I'm sure you guys do this too, of like really cool potential categories that haven't been done yet. So Laurel and I from season 3 were like, oh, Beanie Babies. Like, Beanie Babies would be wild. Like the specific, like, that's Princess Diana bear. That's the blank. I mean,
my
it's so
gosh.
niche.
See, I
would you
said
not pay-
Pokemon Generation 1. That was one I
Pokemon would be
pitched to them.
awesome.
That I think would be a fantastic
I
category.
actually made a pitch to Fox to do a celebrity voices where they're different celebrities that are saying activate the randomizer.
That's
And
interesting.
so
I like that.
I mean, that could be cool.
Oh,
Like Morgan Freeman, activate the randomizer, or like
I like
I don't know,
that.
Adam Sandler, activate the randomizer. But-
Christopher Walken.
Or just do a voice impersonator doing them, which would be good. Clint, I've pitched this to Angie. I think there should be a category of former floor players.
Yeah,
So
100%.
you show the photo and you're like, oh, that's Magic. Oh, that's Angie.
Yep.
Oh, there's Clint. Oh, there's Eric.
How well do you know your show? Exactly right.
Have they done yoga before, Angie? Because I feel like I've seen this category before.
Which one? Yoga?
Yeah.
No, but I'll tell you this. They had not done yoga before, but I will tell you that there was a lot of recycling going on. And I think this was something that I know my floor friends, my Flormally, we watch live together and live tweet, live chat, live video, FaceTime. A lot of us were disappointed in the next category, which was college basketball. We wanted to see college athletes. We wanted to see college coaches. We wanted to see something that typified college basketball. And it seemed just another recycling of mascots from season 1 or college nicknames from season 1 and mascots from season 2. There was nothing new that was offered in that category. And it was kind of a buzzkill for us. I don't know how you guys thought watching it, if you had different expectations. But you're right, Brad. Some of these things do look familiar because they are familiar. Yoga just happened to be a new one this season. But I think college basketball was all too familiar to be fun. Do you have
Maybe
any
the
thoughts?
yoga was in the Reiki one last season.
the Reiki.
Holistic healing.
Holistic.
spirituality.
That's what it was. Holistic.
Yeah,
Eric, that's
fair.
what it was. I knew I'd seen this before. I was like,
crazy.
I've seen this
You're not
before.
crazy. You saw it.
Yeah, Angie, I agree. At least with the basketball one, I was kind of bummed that it was just like a text based. Like there was, It wasn't like school colors. It wasn't like I don't know.
At least
It's
like
just
show
it was
the
a little,
jersey or a ball or I don't know.
yeah,
Or the mascot.
Yeah.
yeah.
But we've got
Absolutely.
so much love for college basketball in the last few years. Women's college basketball, and and women's coaches. There's a lot of iconic coaches and players that anybody who's a real expert in college basketball would know. I mean, going all the way back to Bobby Knight, or you're looking at like Mike Krzyzewski, and folks like that, where you're
Coach
like, come on,
K.
people. I mean, that should have been like, preach. Let's get some real interesting expertise. I thought that
Angie
was
knows.
kind of-
Angie knows her hoops, y'all.
She
Angie knows her
does.
hoops.
She's
I
a,
do know my moves. I
she's-
played college basketball.
she's the
I was a
professor of the
point guard.
network.
Point
Check.
guard.
That's one. Angie,
Yeah.
I want to ask. I got to address something with Magic because I will apologize to you because last week Eric might remember I came on and I was like, we had 3 people fall asleep at the wheel this episode, and you were in my mind. You fell asleep at the wheel, but I was told there's a backstory to you falling asleep at the wheel. And so I want to apologize. I'm quick to call people out, but I'm also quick to want to apologize for saying you did not fall asleep at the wheel.
Brad is
Ex-
very, very honest. We will throw you under the bus, but we will pull you back out.
Yes,
We
I
find that it
heard
was
you
not
last
fair.
week, Magic. I
After
was like,
getting ran over.
yeah, I ran over you a few times.
Yeah.
But explain to me what happened so we can clear the air with the listeners.
So we were, well, first off, we had another tech issue, which is like we had a big pause, a 15-minute break pretty quick after that, which is why you can notice a pretty distinct shift in me because I was so nervous then. But what happened was Kent he said a bunch of them in a row, and then he said pass. And as he looked nervous, and so I leaned forward and I said, it's okay, you got this. When he said pass, not knowing that right before he said pass, he said the correct answer. So I had leaned forward and said that, and then when I sat back up, I sat back up and I was in line with him then, and I couldn't see mine. And then I look over and I'm thinking he has an image still because he had said pass, and we don't hear the ding on like when we're there. You don't hear that ding go up.
Oh,
So-
we did. We heard that on our season. That must be something that they changed for your season. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, we didn't hear the ding at all. And so when it happened, I had said something to him, had sat back up and was trying to just take a deep breath. And then I was like, oh my gosh, because I didn't know that he had said the correct answer right before. So it made it look like I'm just standing there.
Oh my
like,
gosh, it did.
It did.
I know. I was like,
Honestly.
But let me ask you this. So Kent, in winning that category, and I think you put up a really solid fight against a summer Olympian. So kudos to you. I think if you had to go out, that
I
would be
also
the
had
way.
a lot of the harder ones.
Yeah.
Hey,
did,
Magic,
you did.
silver medal. Silver medal.
Silver
Like,
medal.
Way to go.
Silver medal, baby. I love that, Clint. That's perfect. But when you saw it back, now, getting the opportunity to watch, how do you think you would have done in your own category of Doomsday, having seen that play
I actually
out?
did it at a watch. So we had a watch party, and Alex Z from our season lives in Seattle also, and we were watching it, and I was saying it with it. I got everyone on both sides rapid fire, doing it, and so he can attest to it. I was like, man, I knew I was getting so specific when I was trying to learn about it that I was like, no, that's tactical rope, and what it was rope.
That's a
and things
satellite
that.
phone.
And then I was like, that's a satellite phone. And they did cell phone. And
Yeah.
things.
I addressed that last week.
Yeah,
Last
we
week
did.
was a very controversial episode. For one, we had somebody scream out to wake the lady up who was
Laura.
Laura.
Laura wasn't saying anything, which I think is
no,
not
no.
should never be allowed. I think that's a violation. It messes the integrity of the game up. Because
I
somebody should
agree,
have
and
said,
I would be the first
"Magic!"
person to want to do that. I would be the first
It's
person to
hard,
want
though,
to
to
do that.
stop
That's the
yourself
kind
from
of player I
doing
am, but I do agree that should not be it should not be a regular thing. It is very clear when you have an image or you don't have an image. And I know that there are a lot of people on Reddit and in other forums really getting upset with contestants. Like, how can they not figure this out? What's going on? And it isn't that hard, but you are also under pressure. You are also stressed out. I know that Laura had a technical glitch with a previous duel. She was probably not quite on her A game, but there is a point at which you're like, you snooze, you lose, literally. And I don't know if waking contestants up is something we want to see going forward.
I don't, because like I said last week, my 11-year-old said, "Dad, this is my favorite part of the show is when they just stand there. It's his favorite part. They're just like,
It's, so as somebody that's 5 feet tall, it is a lot. Like when you've got images going in this part of my periphery, and then I've got someone who's like, I don't know, Kent feels way taller than me, but like in front of me, and I'm seeing things flash, and I'm just trying to take deep breaths. That's why once I sat back up, I was just like trying to tell myself to take a deep breath, and I was like, man, I remember thinking it was so ridiculous when people did that. And it was only a few seconds, but it was painful to watch back.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's hard. It is. It's hard to be there. Eric, you watched this last episode. You didn't get to play. Tell us what you thought.
Well, so admittedly, I'm pro like waking people up, and I say that because like I think we remember all the first time that happened on season 1, and we saw the one contestant like waste like 12 seconds and then snapped into it, and it's just so hard to watch. And I feel like people remember that moment and remember like even especially if it's neck and neck and really close, and you just kind of like zone out for a quick moment. I think people don't want that to happen to other people. I mean, and yeah, there may be some sort of in the future, people might try to manipulate that into friendships, because one Redditor said it's almost as if friendships is a good strategy to have. But I think just in general, like, I think people just don't want to see that moment happen, because that season 1 moment was hard to watch.
I think it's cringy. I think it also, even though we don't like to see it, it is something that gets talked about a lot. I think it makes for good television. It creates some drama. It creates some friction. People like
Fox loves to get that shot of Rob Lowe where he's like,
right, where he's going, Come on, what's going on?
But
I mean, we were told by producers, you can't talk. Like, don't say anything. Don't shout answers. Don't. Like, it was like verboten. And
we were a pretty yappy crew. I feel like
y'all do yap.
And they may have loosened the reins a bit. I just don't know if going forward it's the best idea to make the contestants another audience. I think that's what might happen if it continues like that. And maybe that is the way the show will go, because it has to each season reinvent in different subtle ways to keep it new.
Okay, so to your point, Angie, let's go the opposite direction, where if it becomes totally okay to wake somebody up, at what point do we draw the line where it becomes okay for somebody to try to distract somebody while they're on the stage?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's like the balance of like, you got somebody that's a villain. What if you got somebody out there trying to distract them? Like, how do you deal with that? This is a good point.
Other ways it's not
I think that's why they
though.
told people not to talk on the floor, but I don't know. It's
No,
right?
they told us, we were told, like, I remember when we got mic'd up, the guy talking to us said, you know, we want you to talk a lot, like talk with people around you about this.
Yeah.
And he was like, and you might think you need to talk quietly, but we don't want you whispering, talk loudly. And then he looked over at me and he was like, oi, what's up with your face? Why do you look so confused? And I was like, well, it's just the opposite of what I've been told my whole life. I'm always being told I talk too much and I'm too loud. And so I'm just kind of like trying to understand what you're saying, that like to do this.
Yeah.
But there was like, I think it was after our first duel, you guys might remember, or the first duel that happened, or maybe the second, that they came out and were like, don't say the answers.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone was saying it loud. Like we were saying it to ourselves after it had passed.
Playing along, right? Just kind of getting in the zone.
Well, and we'd say like someone would go to get it, and we'd be like, "Oh my god, it's this!" Like we'd be saying it quietly. No one said it loud, but
I will say this: I agree with Eric. I think from my perspective, nobody likes to see somebody stuck or in pain or struggling. And in some ways, they're not struggling. I mean, Laura wasn't struggling; she was just oblivious, right? But the idea is we don't want her to lose for that reason. We want her to lose because she doesn't know something, not because she didn't realize it was her turn. I do agree that that's what we want. I think it's just interesting, like Clint said, it draws a line. I'll say this, for example, much like, you know, Magic may have leaned into Kent and said, hey, you know, don't worry about it. I did the same thing in my season. I talked, you know, Andrew looked like he was literally
and
going
they
to throw
showed
up.
all of yours.
Yeah, and
I thought for sure they'd show me, and they didn't. They edited it so much, and I was like, they showed Angie though.
Yeah. Well, they showed me crying like a moron.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Some behind the scenes.
No,
on
that was
that
my
season,
favorite.
Angie, you're gonna get me going on Andrew again. Do you really
Yeah.
want?
Oh
But
no.
we became like he and Izzy, they do look like my nephews. I've posted pictures on social media proving that. But we became close really fast. And I, you know, I have a kid who's 18 and Andrew's 19, and I'm seeing him look like he's just going to implode, and you can't help but be like human and say like, it's okay. It's okay.
Can we get
Because
him on the
some people
show?
could have said I threw him off. Some people could have said I was distracting him. Some people intimated that was part of my strategy, was like getting heads. And I'm like, my strategy was to comfort somebody who looks like he's going to lose his shit on national television.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
I don't know what else to do in that moment. I'm not going to be.
I think there's an element too where like people expect everybody to get up there and go catatonic and kind of freak out and be super nervous, but there's also like this element of like sometimes it's just really fun. I know for my duel, like I'm saying the ones I know, I'm passing the ones I don't, but I'm also looking out of my peripheral to see which ones that Matthew has, because I really love sports movies. And so you hear me say a couple times, he's like Rudy, it's like, oh man, it's such a good movie.
I love.
And
Rudy.
then it's like he's like Cool Runnings is like, yes, love it. Okay, like I mean, it's just that the game's fun. It's just a fun game.
It is really fun.
A
Brad,
couple things.
Brad's applying. Didn't you apply, Brad?
Yeah, they didn't want me. Couple things.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Couple things. One, the blank stare is not. It's not sad for the person because they don't realize that they're supposed to even be speaking. Which
Like the dog getting ready to be put down. I mean,
Yeah,
I just don't know
they
it.
have
So,
but I would say the lady
Sorry,
who
not
went up
sorry.
against Mac last season was way more heartbreaking because she passed on everything. Pass.
Yeah.
Pass.
My square twin.
Yeah.
Was she your square twin? Oh, I
was,
love
yeah.
square twins. I don't know who
Yeah.
mine is. It's 48, but I can't seem to count. I'll figure it out.
So that's more heartbreaking to watch because I contested last season. Mac shouldn't have been charged his 5-second advantage because he didn't even say anything.
Yeah,
like
he
he
didn't
didn't
have to
even.
use it.
No, but
He
that's-
never tapped in.
I find it surprising that you're like, I give it to it direct, but that's your hot take, because if that was the case,
I like this magic. You just come right on and
yeah, I'm
Wait.
like, you can't say that it's gonna be like, oh, hot take, I'm this, but then it's like, no. That's the point. Is you don't know if you're gonna need it, so you have to decide before.
Yeah,
because
but Magic, how many times in the floor history has someone not had to say anything? One time, Mac, and I feel like it wasn't his. He stepped up, and I don't know. I don't think he should have been charged.
He heard her talking about how she wasn't confident in it. She like you could tell
True.
everyone.
See,
felt
but that's stuff I didn't know.
That
But
was his own choice. Like nobody was like, you got to use it. And
This is true.
In-
But you
in my
know what? Go ahead, Brad.
my second thing, Clint, to you, the guy that challenged you, he's on the end, right?
Are you talking about on the edge?
both on
On the
the
edge.
both-
Okay.
We're both
which-
on the edge.
Angie knows my whole philosophy on that. If you're on the edge, you just sit tight because you have a higher chance of winning the floor than you
100%.
do inside the middle.
100%.
That's the truth. So why do you
Yeah,
want to
Brad-
get? Why
Brad,
do you
my
want to tap
entire-
in?
My entire strategy was going to be based on where I was on the floor.
Yes.
And so if I was in the middle,
Same.
super aggressive, go for it,
Same.
try to win 20 grand, go home and like buy a half a Tesla or something like that. So like,
Yeah.
but if you're on the edge, the strategy is you make friends, you intimidate a couple people. For me, my strategy was you stay on the edge, go back to the floor. I wanted to inherit one of two categories because sports films, pretty much a lot of people on the floor would have gone after sports films at some
Mhm.
point. I felt good about being able to defend it, which I did, but I wanted to either inherit classic cars or Real Housewives.
Yeah.
And the only reason is because both of those are so annoying and hard to study that I don't think anybody would want to mess with them. And
Well, a
so
lot of the
classic cars.
housewives, they look a lot alike, just like studying.
See,
national
okay,
parks. Mountains look a lot
Angie, that
alike.
was kind of my shtick that I kept saying is like all these cars look alike, all these housewives look alike. You can't tell them apart.
Fair.
Like, so-
He's taking the Keelan method, which
He is.
which is not fun to watch, but smart to play, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, it's not fun. I think that's the inherent flaw to the floor. They've got to figure out a way to make it where if you're in the middle, you still have a realistic shot, which goes back to you should be required to play 3 straight times when you're called up there, but you get to make money each time you win the next duel.
$1,000 a duel. That's
Yeah,
what I was
that
saying.
incentivizes because right now, Magic, I'm right. This is right. You agree, right? That if you're on the outs, if you're in the
don't
middle,
start with I agree. Let me hear it
yeah,
first.
you have to agree with me on this one. if
I don't
you're
have
on
to
the
do anything, but go ahead.
you're on the outside, you gotta you got a better shot. You do.
You have a statistical advantage, but I was thinking of Kenny dueling Eric. He only has 3 options. One of them is physics, which a lot of us were terrified of. We're like, I don't even know what that's gonna look like. And then Changemakers is so broad that it was like he almost didn't have a choice. It was like he's got to go with Eric. But you're right. That's why you'll see the people that are lasting on the edge a lot of the time. But there are a lot of ways that they do or don't create advantages. And my hot take, so I agree with you on that, but my hot take is that because it's very clear that a lot of us are not experts in our categories. And but they keep pushing it. Like,
Yep.
you're experts in the categories. I had to call my dad and be like, Dad, remember I told you all these categories? It's none of those. I just need you to know, like, because he was like, doomsday prep? I was like, yeah.
Are you in a bunker now? Do we have to worry about you? Are you in a
It was
cult?
just like a lot of follow-up questions. I was like, yeah, no. But the whole concept, I think what they should do is have half the people experts, half the people assigned, but the people that are assigned, you get more time to study it before, because there were a lot of people that they either got one of the ones they suggested or one that they are phenomenal at, like maybe, I don't know, won hundreds of thousands of dollars at Jeopardy at. And then there's some of us where it's like, oh, cool, this isn't even anything that I suggested. And
Mine was
that's
not
what-
either. I'm in the same boat. I didn't suggest mine one bit. It just arrived and it was so vague. Now, I just wanted to ask Eric real quick. You did decide to go back with travel accessories. And your travel accessories is a lot like, convenience store items. I think you'd admit to a degree it's maybe a more vulnerable category. Are you worried that you're going to be a target over there where you are? Or do you think people are going to swing around and try to aim for Brian's territory to grab some cash?
But I agree with both. So I'm completely I hate having travel accessories right now. Genuinely, I hate it because I think it's something that's accessible. I don't think it's as much of a shield as rappers was. I mean, there are a lot of travel accessories, but we know that the point of the floor is so everyone can play along. So it's going to be the most common ones. So I hate having that right now. And I do think that Brian's territory is inching towards the center. So I think more people are going to go more towards Brian, or like just more towards the whale of the moment. And then Safat recently just got some big territory as well.
Got chunks.
That's right. So I think we're going to have 2 people who are going to keep away from our corner.
I hope that for you, because I'd love to have you back and talking more, and not on an episode that you lose too early. But I guess we'll see. No spoilers.
I'm already
No.
out, so
Don't take
We
it
love having Eric on.
don't worry,
And,
there's no in.
Hell, bro.
and Angie, the 5-second boost really helped you because you didn't have an in territory. So I think the 5-second, if you're in the middle, helps too. I will say that. You
That
got to
was-
get the 5-second if you're not on the end. That's
That was
the
my
I was
strategy, was to grab it and to just say, okay, I've got this cushion. I've taken out a few people. People know I'm not a total numbnut, and maybe that's just enough to keep them away. I also didn't have the biggest territory. I went back to the floor without the biggest territory. I figured maybe people would be going more for the side with more money, and I might be able to hang out for a while, which ended up working, but I couldn't have planned that. It was just the best idea I had in the moment, because like Clint said, we didn't know where we were going to be until the day of filming, when you show up and there's the map, in the holding area, and you're like, oh, and people on the edge, you could just see them like fist pumping, but then like trying not to be like too celebratory, but you could tell in the corner people, you were just like, oh, you corner people, I mean, we were all cool with each other, but it was pretty clear who might have an advantage and who wouldn't. But we all played as best we could in the moment. And of course, the landscape shifts every duel, and you have to reassess. The categories you thought you might get are gone. The categories you thought you might be able to challenge, they're gone. And now you've got to rethink that. And so I think what we saw in the end of the episode was a shift away from Brian. Brian got up there. Everybody's so excited. You got all the sidebars of, I hate Brian. Brian's gone.
Why do they hate Brian? I'm confused.
Because
I'm
he
pro
slept-
Brian.
because he
I'm
slept
pro
and got
Brian.
to
I will
bed.
say-
I love Brian.
Brian's playing
Listen,
the game. It's
here's
not his
here's the
fault.
deal. Here's the
He's a great
deal.
guy.
I'm pro Brian.
Brian is awesome, and he is one of the most like the kindest, most amazing people. He was so encouraging to everybody that's on the floor. He was our go-to place to get hand sanitizer so that nobody got sick. So love Brian. The deal is like it's just really good TV. At the end of the day, the show's not really about the contestants having a fair advantage. It's not about everybody going for the 5 seconds or whatever. It's about really good television. And what makes really good television is saying, hey, this celebrity guy, he's the bad guy.
Yep.
In all actuality, like he's fantastic.
Is it because people look at him and go, this guy's rich already, he's been in movies, he doesn't need the 250,000?
From my side, because I'm at the whole other side. And I felt like I knew who he was right away because we loved like Jay and Silent Bob, Clerks, all those movies. And I personally was really bummed when Logan lost because I love her. But he got that and I was like, okay. But then when he got to like do nothing and get it, that's when I started being like, okay, he's not having to do anything. And like, nobody was really even close to being able to get to him. So like initial players would have to stay and traverse the floor to get there. And that was my thought too, I was like, okay, you got a category that was in your wheelhouse, convenience store items. You then inherit classic films. You probably have more money than like, I don't know, a public school teacher. And I'm stuck over on my side with a category I ended up with. And so that's why I felt a little sassy, but it's true. He is the nicest person. There's been a lot of deaths around me since I got back, and he's sent me messages and I was nowhere near him on the floor. And yeah.
Magic, he did beat everyone's favorite Madeline. And, I feel like he gets more grief than Madeline, and he had to beat her. He had to beat her in architecture, which she was like, "I give tours in architecture." So and now he's got directors. I think you're right. He's been given great categories, but he has beaten people in categories that are not his, and he plays with such a looseness up there. Like I feel like he loses. He's like, I don't care. I'm good. I'll go back and make another Kevin Smith movie. Yeah. That's he's playing with house money.
You gotta blame the randomizer. You can't blame Brian. You gotta blame.
No, I'm not blaming him. And that's the problem.
You gotta blame the people who are not challenging Brian. Now, to the point, the Magic's point earlier, and I'm not talking about Magic, but like if someone wanted to be legendary, like right now Brian sees like a legend of season 3, but if someone wanted to be legendary, they could keep playing to get to Brian. If they're all the way over here and Brian's here, they could have kept playing, which is a long shot. I understand, but my point is like I say blame the randomizer. Like if I would love to just sit there and get 20K an episode. I would love that.
But Brian had such a good quote in this last episode though, because Rob said to him, Brian, you're just sitting over there doing nothing. He's like, I'm not doing nothing. It's people that are choosing to do nothing.
Thank you, Clint.
It was really well said.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Magic. Like I'm actually gonna correct myself from last week, because last week I was ranting about I don't like someone getting 20 grand for doing nothing. I was ranting, but I'm changing. I'm going to go against me last week, because I'm going to say, you chose to give him that by not staying up there. So it's on the people. Yep. They should say, I don't want to give this guy 20 grand. I'm just going to keep trying to win and get the territories.
Well,
and then look, I mean, there's a strategy of people playing the long game. Look, I am one of the people. Yeah. I am one of the people that stood on that stage. And one of the options available to me was 20th Century Inventions to play against Brian. 20th Century Inventions is so easy. It's just a general category of stuff that everybody knows.
And like I could have easily inventions last season.
I could have easily chosen to attack Brian in that moment, and then I would have had a giant territory that was classic cars, and that would have been hard for people to go at. But for me, my strategy the whole time was I want to try to get to the end with a category that's easy to defend and hard for people to challenge. I don't want the 20K. I want to be on this thing to the end. And so it's not just about like being afraid. Some of this is like really calculated. And for me, they left out the clip that I said that Rob actually really latched on to this phrase, and so we may hear it later. But I told him that I'm going to go back over to the Bay of Bryan because I feel protected in the Bay of Bryan.
Hey, I like that.
And that's essentially what it was. It's like the Bay of Bryan is like it's a protection place for me, and so I felt really confident about that for sure.
I did not have as much territory as Brian. I did not win any money on the floor like Brian, but the people behind me would call me their wall. Even though it was only 5 pieces, they were like, we're safe. We stayed as long as we stayed because you were who you were and had that space. Like they could be behind me. And it's a good idea to get behind players that other people may not want to go through. And I think what we did is we answered the question of what's the easiest way to win 20K, and that's to have nobody take it away from you. And basically, that's how it happened. And we get another 20K this week because the guy's got 60K racked up, which, you know, is going to be interesting to see if
he can buy a whole Tesla, a whole one.
Buy a whole Tesla, right? So I want to make sure, just because we are a recap, that we get through a few of the other duels, just for folks who are curious. I know we went to 20th Century Inventions. We just spoke about that briefly. You're right. It's general knowledge. It was almost a recycling of American inventions from season 2. No big surprises there. And then we got to Star Trek. We got 2 newbies up there. We got Sifat, who looked like...
No, Michael's not a newbie.
Well, no, but I'm sorry, the new category was up there. Michael had been up there before and inherited, and I don't know how comfortable he was. He looked terribly uncomfortable when he was selected. I didn't get a sense that he was oozing confidence, and I think it was pretty clear he was just going to do his best. And so, but it was an interesting battle. I am not a huge Trekkie. I am more of a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan, and I did pretty well watching it. How about you guys from the floor watching that go back, and then Magic seeing it again now for the first time? What were your thoughts about it? Was it what you'd hoped for? It wasn't a Star Wars battle like season 2. We had 2 mega Star Wars fans going head to head. This seemed more unbalanced.
Star Trek was one of my options because I had Star Trek nerdy characters, Fortune 500, and Summer Olympic events, and I really liked the new Star Trek movies. See, I can't even say it. But I also knew that, like, and I said this at the time, that my mom and my stepdad are like big Trekkies. And I knew that, like, I would never use the phrase, I love the newer movies. I would never use the phrase, I'm a Trekkie. And I knew Mark was. And so that's why I was like, there's too many years of it. I'm not going near it. And there were a lot that I felt like, just age-wise, I would not have recognized from the different iterations.
Well, Mark had.
I think I did okay with like
all over him.
I did okay with the classic ones.
Oh, see, I did New Generation really well.
Yeah, New Gen.
That's my favorite.
I studied that just a tiny little bit. Once I figured out it was that far over on the floor and it was pop culture, I was like, somebody's going to go after that long before I get there. And so I studied it a little. So, I mean, for me, it was one of those like not a Trekkie. Like, I don't know, it was okay. Like I knew Uhura and I knew like Worf. I felt good about that one.
Yeah, the fact that she didn't though. She passed on Worf. That was a buzzkill for me.
Hey, Sifat's a killer. Like for real. Like she's a killer, y'all. Like she went up and straight up took that one.
We're gonna see how she does. It'll be fun to watch. Now I have to say the next duel was a snooze fest, as far as I'm concerned, and it had nothing to do with my formerly I love you dearly, but agriculture was just a recycling of farm life and gardening. There were a few things that seemed different, but I felt it was nothing new. And that's when I just kind of started to feel like, come on, guys. You know, I know for a fact from talking to other contestants, we gave them a ton of interesting categories. I was a little shocked that agriculture came up like that. The personalities were not terribly offensive or exciting. They just were, and they did their best and went back and forth, and it was fine. But I didn't think it was the best duel of the evening.
Well, there was a little diary room snippet to add a little drama. There was about the smack talk in episode 1 or week 1. So I mean, they didn't expand on that, but
I didn't feel like any of them were smack talky though. They seemed very, very cordial.
I can tell you afterwards, it was still awkward when I saw them at the Exit Hotel.
Oh my gosh! Well, it was
okay.
This was not as much of a snooze to me as the Star Trek because I know nothing about Star Trek. Okay. But I've never watched an episode or a movie.
Farmer? Are you a big like?
Well, but I didn't like this one either. But it ended with what it should end with Dookie, because it had manure at the very end, and that's really what the category was about. It was a bunch of crap. It wasn't great.
The steam, yes, it's a pile of brown stuff, but the steam is a dead giveaway. I mean, I could
Yeah.
smell it from home. It was really reeking.
Was this the young lady who had the master plan to make it across over there?
That's what I thought was interesting. Was Shannon had a plan and she
I loved
stuck
it.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wanted to get to
I'm
natural
going
history.
that way.
She wanted to get to natural history, which I think would have given her like maybe 4 or 5, and it would have given her the time boost. And so that was kind of her plan, is to move across. She was going to go agriculture, math, and then get over to Alex at natural history.
Yep. But she was able to
Math
keep
was-
anatomy after that. She kept her original category.
Yep.
You'd think anatomy, math, science, STEM kind of person, she's probably going to do fine in math, which of course she then decides, yes, this is what I'm going to do. It made perfect sense. I've got to say, they already have a show. It's called Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? I don't know why they decided to make the floor of that show with the math category.
I
Honestly,
liked it.
I
was
actually,
you
with you, Magic,
didn't
I
like
liked it.
So intense.
It was
I was
intense.
waiting for so
Awesome.
long.
Two of the
It was
younger
boring.
contestants.
I
and-
hate
boring.
math, and it was awesome. I got 3 teenage sons that literally cannot stand math, and they're screaming math equations at the television. And
And I
like,
don't know if
this
you
is the
heard it,
most
but-
hype math has
Yeah.
ever been.
To me, that's
The
just not
floor
trivia.
brought back math.
It's not trivia, man.
Agreed.
It's not trivia. It's not trivia. It's the test of basic skills. It's multiplication tables. It's math. It's not trivia. I also don't think periodic tables is trivia, to be fair. And I think if we're talking about categories, I don't think there should be anything that's particularly finite and just rote like that. I just think
Well-
it makes for bad television.
I think
That's
what
my
makes it
feeling
fast,
about
though.
it.
That's the same as like U.S.
That's what
states
makes it
and
exciting.
things like that.
Yeah, I was into this one, Angie. I got to disagree with you on that one. But I will say
Math?
this: I'm not even a math guy, but I was having
one times one
it's one.
was the
But it's
first
all about,
slide.
like,
You got Brad got that one.
guessing
Brad
and
got
going
that.
past.
But
I'm
I
sorry,
want to
guys.
say,
We're gonna have to agree to disagree here.
I want to say I like this only because Tony was in this, right?
We like
and-
Tony. Tony's great. She's
and
coming on. She's going to talk to us. We love her.
Tony has been a huge follower of reality check with Heidi and Brad. She even, this was one of her most listened to podcasts of the year. She shared it. So I gotta say I like her. So I'm gonna support
love
her.
her.
I'm glad she won.
I love her. Hate the category. I love her. I hate the
I-
category.
look,
mean,
I-
what's
My
the
brain
category?
was tired though. I quit on it like 40 seconds. I'm like, I can't think anymore. I'm done.
Yeah,
think
once they
Alex
got to
said-
double digits, Brad's like, I got
I'm
to
good.
take my shoes off to keep counting here. So
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not doing
out.
That was the first time that they
That
changed
is
it
mean.
to be like those 2 close-ups of them,
Yes.
where they
Yes.
That was
those
really
in,
cool.
That was very cool.
which I thought
It
was
was-
interesting. But
It was
I want to
good.
point out there was a really good joke at the beginning that Shannon said that I laughed so hard because Rob says, you know, he's doing the thing where he says everything and he says, you guys have 45 seconds each. And she goes, yep, or 9 times 5. And I laughed so hard.
That was good. Yeah.
A little.
That
but
was
it
really, really
so
cute.
funny.
That was really cute. And you know what? I'm still maintaining it was a snooze fest, but I will say Clint's point is well taken. The beauty of the floor is that it's a family show. It's a show that everybody can play. It's intergenerational. There's something for everyone. And yes, the 11-year-old who's memorizing their times tables, as I grew up calling it, or your multiplication tables, or even the new math kids are watching that and they're owning it and they're shouting it and they're loving it. And for that, I will give them that. But
Well,
for
let's
me,
be honest though,
I was
Angie,
one
the new
That's
new
right.
math kids had to get a piece of paper and draw a bunch of
Yes,
circles,
with-
and so
with
they would have
boxes
only
and
gotten
stuff,
one
yes.
in 45 seconds because
Yes,
new math
100%.
doesn't work.
If
Like-
anything, it told us that the new math sucks and we need to go back to multiplication tables. That's what
Yeah.
the floor taught me this week, and I'm okay with that.
I'm just
'Cause
surprised
I
they had enough
struggled.
slides. I thought they were going to run out of slides because that duel went on for a hot
They were
minute.
cooking.
It did.
No is that the first duel of the season with no passes? Has there been
No,
another
there's
one with
been
no
some
passes?
of those already, I think.
Which other ones have been 0 passes across the board?
I think it's a
I
good point,
I
Clint.
just remember him saying it. But I'd have to go back and look.
I don't know, but I
I
mean, it was
remember him
impressive.
saying
No,
he
the no
said,
passes
like-
was pretty cool.
I'm with you, Clint. It was pretty cool. No passing. You got no chance to pass.
Which also, like, how big of a dummy do you feel like if you pass on something like that to you? Like,
Oh my gosh. And you're a math teacher and you got to go back to school. Oh gosh.
That would be
Did you miss 9 times 5? Are you a dummy?
Hey,
Which is
Angie,
really
to your
sad.
point, and Brad, to yours too, about Tony. Tony just lights up the screen. She's got the biggest smile. She's the sweetest person. Like she's just like that on the floor too. And so like no secret that I think that made her a crowd favorite pretty quick.
Yeah, she's really sweet.
And she's
one of
coming on
the-
next week, right?
I believe she's.
She
next
told
week
me
with
she'll
us.
be on next week.
Yeah, she'll be on next week. She's one of the Nashville contingent. We have Holly from our season in Nashville. We've got Mina from our season in Nashville. Jen Livengood, who was one of our producers, is in Nashville. So there's quite a few Nashville folks, and so we do. You know, some people have done some reunions there and hung out, and so I know Tony's part of that crew now, and it'll be really, really fun to have her. And I will tell her I thought her category was boring. I think she's delightful, but I thought the category was boring. But it had value. Clint showed me it had value, and I have to remember that everybody's watching this, not just, you know. And I like math. Math is very useful and helpful.
And I'll
It
say,
just-
as a history teacher, it was really fun for me to see two of the youngest contestants, females, going so fast in this and the fact that I could play along at home, like not as good as them, but kind of. I always am like the first one to be like, nope, math, science can't do it. And I thought it was great that people could see that was like a chosen category, that we had anatomy working her way over to there, and like,
Well, and maybe it's possible that I didn't find it enjoyable because I'd seen it before. It was in the international versions. They had math. And so anybody who'd studied and prepped by watching international versions of the show would have seen that category. Much like languages and some of the other ones that'll be on season 3. They've been done on the international shows. So I think I knew what to expect, and I was maybe hoping for something different. But there's not much different you can do.
Yeah.
But to your point, physics is something everybody's afraid of. I don't know how many people on the floor were afraid of math. Didn't you assume it was just going to be simple equations, or did you think they were going to show mathematicians? Like, what was your fear? Did anybody have anxiety?
good
I was
idea.
gonna say Eric and I were on the other side, so it was like,
I wouldn't have touched it anyways. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't have went up. I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, I'm a creative. No chance.
Yeah.
But
like,
now
no
seeing
chance.
it,
I'd have been
you would
like,
have done pretty well, I think. You could do that. You could do 1 times 1. You would have at least gotten through slides.
One
I
of
would
them
have
was
gotten-
0.
I would have gotten through probably the first 30 seconds. I did okay when we were doing it, even watching back. But the rest of it, I mean, it got pretty tough.
Yeah, fair. All right. Well, we finished off with fantasy films. Thank gosh. We recovered with something I thought more interesting and to me. I am also a creative. I'm a literary person. I mean, I can do multiplication, but I felt more challenged by fantasy films than I did by math. And to me, I guess the best categories are the ones where I feel that I'm challenged in them and I'm having like a competition with myself. And so fantasy films was really cool for that. There were some I hadn't seen before, some like Never Ending Story, which took me back to sitting in the theater as a kid watching it. It was a good feeling duel. I think most people probably felt a lot of nostalgia when they saw that. How did you guys think that played out?
Wicked was not out yet.
Oh.
This was filmed in the summer, so I remember seeing that, and I was like, "What?" Like, when I was just watching it back, I was thinking, "Did they show a different picture?" Or nope. There was like one trailer that was out, but I liked Lily's stance. She had like a superhero stance. the
He
whole
did. She
time.
was like,
She is fun. She
Came to
was
play.
fierce. Her
And she
wardrobe,
was
her makeup, her hair, like she was
Killing
on
it.
point.
killing it.
I gotta say, I guess I'm not as much of a film buff as I thought because I was struggling with sports films and I struggle with fantasy films too. Now, granted, those aren't my top 2 genres, but I struggled watching it back, and I feel like when I was on the floor, like playing along, when we were filming, I felt like I knew them, but watching it back, I was struggling. I was really, really struggling. I will say I did know Princess Bride though. Did know
I knew that one too. I was like, "Oh, ouch!" Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. I thought it was a great battle. Like just a fun duel in general, and so many good movies. Like just a lot of really good films in that genre. I think that was some of them I knew immediately because they're just pop culture, but I wouldn't have necessarily categorized them as fantasy films. There were a few that I was thinking, I was like, oh, okay, I guess that fits the bill. But
yeah, like Labyrinth for sure.
Oh, yeah.
There were some others where it crossed, like genre crossing, and they probably just.
It's
you know,
funny
put it
because
in.
when they showed Jumanji, I immediately said Hook, but then when they showed Hook, I didn't know what Hook was. And I
Oh
loved
my
Jumanji as a kid. So I was
Hook
like,
is
how
an
did I-
amazing
I
movie.
always want to tell you, but I don't think you know movies at all.
I would have struggled.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I would have.
You got one Robin Williams movie, but not the other.
Right.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's why you mixed it up. I was
Hook's better than
wow,
Jumanji.
Not at all. Like,
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But
but I have a question.
Yeah.
So, this, and I think Brad will either agree or be like, no way. So oh gosh, I never know how to say all of it, but the everything, everywhere, all
everything,
the time,
everywhere, all at once.
all at once, that takes so long to say. And I felt like it does. She said it right away and she made sure it was enunciated. But I kept thinking, I don't know if that's fair when that's something that is so much longer than something else.
I'm with you,
and
Magic. I'm with you. Because sometimes the floor lets you go like, they let you say instead of Tom Cruise that you can go Cruise. And they're like, okay, we know you mean Tom Cruise. But if you went like everything ever all the time, would they give it to you? I don't think so.
Everything where the wild things are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. They need to not pick titles that are 3 seconds long to say, or 4 seconds,
Well, there is
because
a
that's
movie-
penalizing you.
You know, here's a fun trivia fact. What's the longest movie title?
Well, I don't know. What is it?
The Man Who Went Up a Hill but Came Down a Mountain.
Oh,
Remember that? That was, I think, Hugh Grant was in that. But if they show that film and you got to go like The Man Who Went Up a Hill and Came Down a Mountain, I mean, that's a lot longer than Jaws, right?
Yeah, see, that
Yeah.
to me is like a very.
At that point, it's just pass 2,
Pass.
3, 4.
You would say
next.
that, wouldn't you?
you get that one, and Magic gets E ET.
That's right.
And
Well,
is
you know,
that a fantasy
No,
film
Magic
or
got all the
sci-fi?
hard ones. Kent would have
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, you
But
got the
know
hard
that
ones.
This is a fun topic because it comes up often in social media where people talk about stacking the deck or the producers are wanting an outcome. And at the end of the day, if somebody passes, that deck gets shuffled immediately. So the idea that somebody's got a harder one and an easier one, or an easier one and a harder one, anytime something's passed, it kind of flips that around. So I mean, I do believe they should have had some clues that were of equal length, so that, you know, if somebody gets everything everywhere all at once, somebody also gets a longer one, but you can't guarantee that's going to happen. You know, somebody could just get all the long ones because they pass on short titles, or maybe just eliminate anything that's more than 2 or 3 syllables, regardless of category, to keep it more manageable. That might be something that they should look into, because I agree there is a bit of an imbalance.
I'd like to say this though. I feel like they inherently want someone like Brian to win because he helps the cachet of the show. Because he's probably a B list. So he's an A list to me because I've watched him since '94. But I would say I think the floor needs to stop bringing on celebrities or even people that have some kind of
Celebrity
connection. Because that's the charm of the show is you get to meet the Magics. You get to meet the Clints and the Angies. And that's why Heidi and I talk about this.
No, I was
I'm a celebrity.
starstruck.
I guess
And
I'm a
Eric's.
celebrity.
Are you a celebrity?
I know. I'm sorry, Eric. I was like looking right here, and I just forgot. But anyway,
Get my phone?
yeah, it's like Eric
I'll
knows
take
I
it.
like him.
I'll take
He
it.
can come on over.
Eric got that blue check.
But what I'm saying is, like Heidi knows I've said this all the time on Reality Check. Traders, I love Traders. It's a great show.
Me too.
But I like the Australian traders better than the American because they're normal people. You have no preconceived.
Same with UK.
Yeah,
UK is my favorite.
I've never watched the UK, but they're just normal people. You don't know. I don't know if Magic's gonna knife me in the back or Eric's gonna knife me in the back. But you come in there off of like Bravo.
Rob.
I'm like I've watched Boston Rob. So I think the floor. What's gonna make it special is if it keeps just bringing normal people in and giving them a shot.
Yeah.
That's what I
I think
think.
you just have to be consistent. Like the American Traders is all celebrities. The one that is, or the UK and Australia, they're all normal people. But I love a lot of the famous people on our season. I will say I noticed that the people that got their chosen categories or an area of expertise that was theirs tended to be the people that had a lot more notoriety.
I don't know about that because let me talk about Kenny. Kenny literally is a boy band manager, and he
Yeah,
did
he
not
did not
get the
have boy
category boy bands.
That was surprising to me.
And so I think I don't know. I look at it this way: not everybody on the show is a celebrity, but every celebrity on the show is a normal person too. And so I don't think it just doesn't bother me.
Clint,
Clint,
I get that.
Fair,
The
okay.
celebrities and
Kenny-
even like. Go ahead.
I was just to say Kenny's a boy band manager, but I don't know Kenny as a boy band manager. But I do know Brian O'Halloran, and Brian got Convenience Store, which is what he worked in every Clerks movie. So
I think it all comes together nicely.
Reality shows,
Yeah.
But like Brad,
Brad.
could you not have defended convenience store items?
Oh, I would have gone toe to toe with him because I'm
Anybody
No, how
could.
is it
It's
fair
not.
that
It's
he-
not like they gave him. They didn't give him like Kevin Smith movies.
They should have.
Like,
that would have been
that would've
amazing,
been
and see if he
A lot
could
of
do it.
easier categories, like the travel accessories, competition reality shows, convenience store items, like a lot of the, Wyatt, who's an amazing cowboy.
He's
had
a national
rodeo.
championship qualifier.
Yeah.
3 times.
He's
national
amazing.
championship
The
qualifier.
Globetrotter guy.
I think
He-
it's,
Yeah, he got college basketball. That's what I'm
Thank
saying.
you, Eric. Eric, it's
I think it just all comes together nicely. I do, and you know, my thing is like I think it humanizes the celebrities that are there. I think it's like a nice little Easter egg for folks that are in
I
the
agree
know that
with that.
celebrity. And then like to be honest, I mean, I guess I'm just not on social media as much as I think I am, but like we have a lot of social media famous people, and I did not know who they were.
I
to be
didn't know
honest.
any of our influencers either, and now I'm like,
I
oh my
didn't
gosh,
know.
you actually have like 1.2 million followers. I didn't know.
Yeah,
idea.
Right.
but-
We just ate fish and chips together. That was fun.
Right.
But I'll say this: I think even if they get a category that's their area of expertise, there's no guarantee they get to play it. I mean, at the end of the day, if they're randomized, they've got to attack somebody else. They don't always get to defend the category that they're on. So it may appear to be an advantage, but at the end of the day, the randomizer is the one who's really in control. And I think we are going to see next week if the randomizer is going to help dethrone Brian or if he's going to continue in the bay of Brian to turn it into a tsunami of cash. Huh? How'd you like that one?
I like
Hey,
that. I
that's
like
what
that,
you did.
Angie.
And I just
I
pulled
like
that
it.
up, by the way. That
I
wasn't even
like that.
rehearsed. All right.
Oh, improv. I like that.
Yeah, thanks, man. To respect everybody's time, we're up over an hour, so I'm going to sign this off and hope you all will join us here next week where we have Tony, aka the Math Whiz, and who knows who else is going to be hitting that podium that might be here to recap with us. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Tune in on Spotify and Apple. It'll be on tomorrow. So
Yeah,
take care.
leave us a
everybody.
review.
Like, subscribe, comment, all the things.
Yeah, I'm new to this.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, comment.
I
all the things.
I'm teaching digitally. I sign
No,
off class
I'll-
doing this. I thought it was hilarious.
I'll insert Ashley's commercial for that, so we'll be good.
I haven't recorded a commercial, but there's probably good reason since I am terrible at self-promotion. So-
Ashley has a commercial for every show. Clint Bryce says hello.
okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
hit
love
stop.
that dude.
He's-
Can
he
you
said
guys
tell him I
just
said
hang
hello.
out for a second? I'm hitting stop, but just hang for a minute. I want to make sure everybody's uploaded or close to it before people log out of their screen. And we're not recording
I'm
now.
good.
You can all agree that math sucks now.